Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie, and I believe that the right book at the right time can change lives, and that all readers should read children's literature, especially adults. So that's what we do here on the KidLit Love podcast. We celebrate all things children's literature: picture books, early readers, middle grade, and young adult novels for readers of all ages. In each episode, we'll talk with children's literature authors and discuss their books, their hopes, their dreams for readers, their writing process, and much, much more. Whether you're an adult reading to their inner child or connecting the young readers in your life with fantastic books, you've come to the right place. So grab a notebook to build your TBR, and let's get to today's episode of KidLit Love. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the KidLit Love podcast. I'm Stephanie Affinito, your KidLit loving host, inviting you back to another bookish conversation with a children's literature author. Today, I'm talking with Rebecca Danzenbaker. Rebecca is here to talk about her debut young adult novel, SOULMATCH. In this book, readers enter a world where past lives determine their future, and they meet Sivon, a sharp-witted girl who confronts a major twist of destiny. This young adult speculative romance will have you enthralled on every page, I promise. I can't wait to talk to her all about it, so we are going to jump right into the episode. Rebecca, welcome to KidLit Love. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thanks. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, I adored your book. I was lost in your book. I was enthralled by your book. I couldn't stop turning the pages of your book. But before we talk about your book, I do want to talk about you because you're a debut author. Congratulations on having your first book put out into the world. And so
Thanks.
I would love to hear all the things. I'd love to hear your journey through children's literature to debuting your first young adult novel.
Okay, and I feel like every debut author has a story, like I feel like we all have our unique way of finally being able to hold the book in our hands. My career has varied, like it's jumped from here to there, so people could look at my history and be like, how does this spell author? And I think in many ways it doesn't, but just begin with, like, I have just been a lifelong reader. Like, I've always had my nose in a book. It's been from one to the next my entire life. My mom used to take me to the mall with my sisters. I had two sisters and we were very close in age, three within 3 years. And she would drop me at Walden Books and take them clothes shopping and come back, and I would have my stack of books ready. And that was my back to school shopping. So,
I
um,
loved Walden Books. That
I
is
know.
nostalgia right there. I love
Yeah, it's like I can still smell it. Like I can still smell the smell in my head. So that's like where my love of literature came from and reading in general. But I started out my career as an elementary school music teacher because I felt like when I was in high school, both of my sisters were cheerleaders. They were homecoming court, like super popular. And I was this like musical kid who loved to read. And then I found musical theater, and I feel like that really helped me find my voice and like my place in the high school architecture, right? Like the system of
it.
school. And I was like, I want to give other kids this sort of feeling and their place. So I went into music education. I intended to do high school, and then I was like, no, that will be my literally like every single night, like doing high school theater. You're giving up your life basically and your weekends. So I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'll switch to elementary. And I taught elementary school music for 5 years. And then I got really bad vocal nodes. So I started to hate to sing. And I was like, okay, well, I loved this before, but now I hate it. So let me move into something else. And I got my master's degree from George Mason, and it was, gosh, I never used it. So I have to even think back. It was, let me look at the diploma on my wall. Like, what does it even say? Master in Education of Curriculum Instruction. But it was like teaching people like how to use online learning and designing curriculum for online learning. And like, as soon as I finished it and I started to apply to other jobs, I was like, I don't want to do this. It was like sitting at a laptop all day designing online learning. And it was like, putting together a lesson plan and then a little test at the end. Like this was really early days of online learning. And I just put out feelers to my friends like, hey guys, here's my master's degree. What do you guys think I should do? I don't want to sit behind a laptop all day. And they were like, well, one of my friends replied like, our friend Anne, who I grew up with, works at Congressional Quarterly and loves it. She's an account manager there, and she had been a teacher as well. So I was like, perfect. So she got me in for an interview. I ended up working there for 10 years. I was the director of account management, ended up leading a team of 25 there. Loved it. And from there, transitioned in photography again, like just ping ponging all over. So I'm still a full-time portrait photographer. And I love that. I only do like 2 sessions a week, so I'm very low volume studio. And then I spend all of my time like in editing the photos, and I listen to audiobooks while I edit. So I still get
That's
all of my
perfect.
reading in. And then COVID hit and I had to shut down my business. And like anyone who's grown their own business, like understands the amount of work that you've had to put into it in order to leave my corporate job and to go into photography full time. Like just the amount of work and persistence that I put into that was crushing to have to like stop it like all of a sudden. And my brain was spinning constantly, plus the added pressure of COVID of, are we going to all die? Like, is this the end of civilization? Like no one knew how you were catching it. My groceries would sit in the garage for 2 days, like I would be up at 3 a.m. to schedule grocery delivery. Are we going to have toilet paper? Like people were stealing it off of people's front
Yeah,
porches. It was just a
that's
nightmare.
nuts.
So for the first time in my life, I was having panic attacks, and I would be going on these 6 feet apart walks with my best friend in the neighborhood. And I was just like, I need a project. Like I cannot sustain this. I need something to put all of my time into. My husband was the CEO of a company at a time. He was trying to keep them afloat. My kids were preteen. They didn't need me to babysit. So I really just needed a project.
Yeah.
And I had had this idea for a novel for 10 years at that point. And it was something that just, I guess we can talk about it more as like we talk about the book, but like it stuck with me for all this time of like, if we could have this technology of figuring out who we were in our former lives, how would that change society, the world, the way government works, the way we think of ourselves and life and death in general? And I had like been brainstorming this world for a decade before I actually sat down to write it. But it was always like this back of like, it was kind of like a joking thing I would always say, like, oh, when I retire, I'll write that novel. And, we would go on vacations, like we were in Venice, and I was like, someday we'll rent out this cute little corner apartment, and that's where I'll write that novel I've been talking about. It was just always one of those things that I was really flippant about. And I even like during COVID, like was talking to my husband, and I was like, well, I said I'd write that novel if I had time. And I was like joking about it. But then the next day, I was sitting there like on this Photoshop, like online workshop. And I hit pause on it because I was like, when am I ever going to use this? I have no idea if I'm even going to be able to do photography
Right.
full time again. And I instead went to the search bar of this website, which is called Creative Live. It doesn't exist anymore. I mean, I still have access to my library of videos, but they aren't creating content anymore. But I searched Creative Live for how to write a novel. And this workshop came up by Lisa Cron. She wrote Story Genius. That's the one, that's the like writing craft book that most people know. But she basically took the premise of Story Genius and all of the lessons in it and did a three-day workshop for Creative Live. And I bought it. It was on sale because it was COVID, and went through all of the exercises. And that's how I came out with the outline for SOULMATCH. And I just started writing. And I loved it. It was an escape. It was fun. I had control over something when I felt very much out of control with what was going on in the world. And so I could like escape and then also just develop this world into whatever I wanted it to be. And I could throw in all the tropes that I loved, and I could throw in all of the angst that I wanted. And I was literally writing it for myself for fun. And I would send it to my husband and my best friend, like, here, I got a new chapter for you. Like, they were my alpha readers and they were just devouring it. Like, when's the next chapter coming? And it's obviously changed a ton since then, but the bones of it are still there. The first quarter of it is largely unchanged. The rest of it has changed significantly, but all of the characters remain the same. The character arcs are the same. But that's kind of how my writing journey started in my long, rambly way of
I
talking.
love it. No, no, no. It's not a long rambling because I love hearing about authors' backstories. And I especially love when as they're talking out loud, you can just connect the dots. And while it may seem like, your journey as a writer wasn't clear as a music teacher and then to the next job, but then when you talk about it and you talk about how you've got here, so many things kind of fall into place. And that's what I love to hear about.
And I feel like I couldn't have written a YA novel about a dystopian-ish government, utopia slash dystopia. You can argue semantics on whatever you want it to be. But I could not have written about government without my work at Congressional Quarterly. I couldn't have written for a teen audience without getting into like the elementary school I taught at went up to sixth grade. So I was with 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds all the time. Of course, my kids were preteen, now they're teenagers. I enjoy the most like teen TV shows. Like I am totally binging The Summer I Turned Pretty right now. And I'm like, she should not be with Conrad or Jeremiah. Like they're both toxic. Like, what the heck? It's like those are the shows that I liked. I just enjoy. I love all of the angst that comes with first loves and the pressure that is put on teenagers in general to figure out their lives at such a young age and forcing them into change. And I just feel like that's so right for all of the drama that you can like just really, and also I feel like teenagers in general are have the ability to incite change more than adults who are kind of set in their routine and their lives and don't want to disrupt this curated life that they've created. Whereas teenagers are changing constantly and are able to pivot a little bit faster. And so I do think teenagers have the ability to really save the world in many ways. Like they have the power, they have so much influence on society. So I love getting in their heads. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I also love that what started off as an escape for you, like a project, a place to put the energy, a place where you can escape and feel control, now is this beautiful escape for readers. Like
Yeah.
truly, you open this book. Is it okay if I read the opening line of or the
Yeah.
opening little vignette of chapter
Yeah,
one?
of course, of course.
It's this beautiful hardcover book with this gorgeous cover that we can talk about after. And you open up to the well, actually, it's not the first page. There is a letter that it starts with. But what I love that you've done with the book, and then I'll give you a chance to actually tell listeners about the book. But I have to convey the the feeling of, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to get into this book. What have I gotten myself into when I've opened it? Because now I don't want to close it. When you start off each of the chapters with a term and a definition, which, hello, you had my English loving heart at hello with that. But the first term, curling, the government mandated matching of a soul from a former life to a current life. And I remember opening the book. I was sitting down. I remember the chair I was at. I was sitting down in my snuggly cushion, and I went, "Oh, this is going to be a book that I'm going to sink into." I was like, "Okay, guys, just leave me be for a while because I have a feeling I am going to be in it." And in it, I was. It's impossible not to fall headfirst into your book. And so with that with that lead, I would love for you to tell listeners a bit about it. And they know we don't do spoilers, so they're
Okay.
going to be left wanting, and that is the point. But give us give us a little bit about the book to give listeners a taste of what they are going to get themselves into.
Okay, so usually when I pitch Soul Match, I do it with the world that we're thrust into and instead of from the character, but I can do that as well. But here's my like one line pitch, or maybe it's three sentences. Um, on your 18th birthday, everyone in the world must report to the government to learn who they were in their past lives and if they have a soulmate. Good souls leave with their inheritances, bad souls leave in handcuffs.
Yes.
So, most of the world, this is me just expanding on that. Most people, because there has to be a government wide, or sorry, a globally wide acceptance of this system in order for it to work, most people have totally normal souls. They have 3 to 5 past lives and they learn who they were. You pass your talents along to your next life, you pass your money along to your next life. So you can show up at the Institute, most people do. They get their inheritance so they can become overnight millionaires. If they were a celebrity, which of course only a few are, they could have talent scouts come for them. If they were a brain surgeon, all of a sudden they have scholarship offers. If they were a famous financier, they could have job offers. Like, so there's so many benefits to going, and only a very, very small portion of the population was criminals or were criminals before, and that you cannot escape that reputation. So once you're branded a criminal, even if your next lives go on to be perfectly fine, um, it's hard to get past that. People will judge you for that, and you're constantly trying to like beat that reputation and prove that that's wrong. And I guess the idea for this came just going back. Like I told you, I'd had the idea for 10 years before I wrote it. I was driving down the road one day, just randomly, my brain was wandering as one does while you're driving. I passed a cemetery. Out of the blue, I was like, I wonder if my past self is buried there. And
Wow.
yeah, I was like, oh, that would be so cool if we had anything in common. Like maybe we shared the same talents. Like maybe they were also musical. And wouldn't it be cool if someday we had the technology to find out who we were and it to see if there were any similarities? And then how would that change? And then so that just started spiraling like, whoa, would we, if we could figure out who we were in our past lives, would we even give our inheritance to our kids? Would we just, if we knew we were going to get reincarnated, why wouldn't we just pass our money along to our next life? And if that becomes the norm, then there would have to be government practices put in place to ensure that we got it right and the money went to the right soul, like so there would become like this whole infrastructure that had to be built around that. So that's where my world comes from. Um, I think I've probably explained enough. I should tell you a little bit about my main character though. So Sivon is our main character. Her mom is an artist. She paints portraits of celebrities and the rich and famous, but she doesn't paint just a regular picture. She actually sees their auras. So she sees like these hypothetical colors around people, and that's what she paints of them. And of course, it's set in the future. So we have this new kind of paint that moves and flows on the canvas. And she can see everyone's aura. She can kind of tell you who they are in general, meaning like, oh, this person is energetic, this person's athletic, this person is intuitive, things like you would read from an aura, not who they were in their past lives, but just get a general idea of who this person is. But she cannot read her own daughter's aura. Sivon has a multicolored aura that's constantly shifting. So Sivon has this one thing about her that she's like, why can't my mom read my aura? Why do I have the only aura in the world that cannot be interpreted? And then on top of that, Sivon has this special gift of being strategically genius. She's never lost a game of chess. Like she's able to like kind of think forward and figure things out in ways other people can't. And so she kind of worries that there's something weird about her soul. And there's a few other things I don't want to give away, but she's like, when I show up for my curling, I will figure all this out. Like it's all going to be laid bare for me, just like everyone else figures out their soul, their curling. Same for me. And so she's so much looking forward to this. Her best friends just had their curling, they're twins, and they became multimillionaires overnight. They also became like, they found out they were secret agents, so they have this really cool job. So she's like, okay, well, I can't be that bad if I have good friends like this, but she's also just super uncertain and she's waiting for answers. So that's kind of how the story opens.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I wanted to make her relatable to teenagers because I feel like so many teenagers are like, just tell me what I'm supposed to do with my life. Like a lot of like my daughter, especially, she's like, I have no idea. She's 16. She's like, I have no idea what I want to do with my life. Like, and I obviously was somewhat the same. Like I jumped careers. I have these very different careers throughout my life that don't seem related at all, but if I really sat and talked you through them, like they all did flow together. Um, and they made sense in my head. Of course, like some of them were just like, I'm going for it, especially with writing. Like, sure, I wrote this book, I love it. My friends seem to love it. I'm going to try to get it published, sort of thing, like I'm just going to go for it. Let's try it. So that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted Sivon to be super relatable, but not only to teenagers, I feel like adults kind of struggle with that too.
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to do with my life? Am I in the right profession? Should I make a change? Like, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
And it would be nice if we could just be told, like, here's what you're meant to do, you know?
Yes, and I think also the flip side. So as I was reading it, there were really like two things that stuck out to me, and I guess I shouldn't say things. I should say like two parallel things because there are these really great themes in the book of friendship, of, some budding romance, even family connections and relationships, and you have like those wonderful themes that you can sink into. But then there's also these questions that the book raises
Mhm.
that at least I could not stop thinking about, right? So it is this idea of, well, what if there are previous versions of ourselves out there? Well, what if I couldn't choose what I wanted to do?
Yeah.
What would I do? And at the same time, it's like these competing things were
Right.
like, oh, I would love to just show up and get a couple of $1 million
Yeah.
inheritance, know exactly what I'm doing and sending on my way. But then I also, at the same time, was reminding what maybe I take for granted sometime, which is that I do get to choose,
Yeah.
do have that. And I loved how in the book it was like in the old days when they decided this
Yeah.
stuff for themselves, which is just wonderful. So there's like both of these tracks running through my mind at the same
Right.
time is what really just makes it so immersive.
Thank you. Yeah. So let's start with the friendship part. Um, I really wanted this, and I've written other manuscripts since then, which are different, but I really wanted Saban to have a super supportive network around her. So she does have to decipher who's friend from foe, but I think every female she encounters in this book ends up helping her along her path in some way and is a positive influence on her. So we don't have the mean girls trope in here. We have a lot of support. And I've told, and in fact, like if you've read the acknowledgments or if anyone gets to the acknowledgments, like the first thing that I start off with is publishing is not a solitary endeavor. This book would not exist without a huge group of people who've supported me along the way and who've championed this book. And Savon, all of this like comes down to her. I don't want to give anything away, but like her figuring things out, she never would have figured things out without the support of friends. She has to
Yeah.
find people to help her because she cannot do it alone. And it's not a chosen one trope. She very much chooses herself and others and trusts people to empower her to make the change that she needs to make. So I love that with this story. I hope that people read this and look around and wonder, like, are the people in my life helping me or hindering me? Are these people who are supporting me and boosting me up or tearing me down? And like my daughter, like I said, she's a teenager. We've had to talk through friendships. Like, is that the type of friend, like your friends should not be making fun of this, that, or other thing that you're doing or wearing or the way your appearance is. They should be supporting you. They should be propping you up. Like we already talk bad enough to ourselves all the time. And there's so we all have self-doubt. So it's so important to have people around us that are like, no, 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 that's not real. You made that up in your head. That's not true. You've got this. Let's go. Like, do not give up. We need that.
Yeah.
It's important to have your community. And then your second part with about choosing, I think humans in general, like we are so stressed all the time about things that it's just sometimes nice to sit back and be like, okay, you decide. And I've done it so many times. Like, I have even remember planning my wedding. There were just too many options being thrown at me at once. And I was like, I literally don't care. I just want to marry my best friend. I do not care what flowers we have. I don't care what the cake looks like. I don't care about this. I don't care about that. You can wear whatever you want, jewelry wise, like put your hair whatever you want. Wear whatever shoes you want. It does not matter. Like, it does not need to be picture perfect.
Yeah.
I just want to have fun with friends and family that day. So you pick, but then that, of course, that puts stress on other people. But I think in some ways, like people would glom onto this idea of like, okay, I don't have to figure out what I want to do in my next life, especially if scholarships and job offers and
Right.
talent agents are coming for you and they're making it easy for you. And it's like, okay, whew, I don't have to have that pressure.
Yeah.
But I do also feel like, and as you get into the weeds of the novel, you figure out that some people struggle with it. And it's definitely a thing. And like I would have struggled with it as someone who's changed careers significantly throughout my life. Like if someone had just said, you will be a music teacher your entire life. And I was 3 years into it and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like this is physically painful to me now. What else? What else can I do? So, so yeah, like those are all great things. I think there's a lot, like there is a discussion guide on my website that's spoiler free. I think it makes for really wonderful discussions in classrooms and book clubs, because there's a lot of just the world building that you can sit and talk about for an hour. Like
Yes.
it's really cool. Like, yeah. I
Yeah.
can I can say that about my book, right? That it's cool.
You absolutely can say that about
Okay.
your book, about your book.
It's weird. Like I am oddly obsessed with it. Like I feel like a lot of authors, by the time they get to publishing, and I've read it a million times and I've rewritten it a million times. Like I feel like I should be bored of it. And there are times where I'm like, okay, I've read it twice in 3 months. I don't want to read it again for a minute. Like I also just listened to the audiobook because I wanted to hear Gailey's performance and my heart was racing as if I didn't know what was going to happen already. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I still am entertained by it. I still find it so fun. And I hope other people will still go back and do a reread later because it is interesting, I think, once you know the ending, to go back and reread it and pick up on things that you may not have before.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. It is a book that begs to be discussed.
Yeah.
I read it and no one in my home had read it. But that didn't stop me. I was like, listen, guys, here's the premise. What do you think? And we had many a dinner time conversation, a
Sure.
walking conversation with my teenagers of what do you think? What would you
Yeah.
want? So it is one of those books that there's just so much going on that your head's thinking about. You're like, I need someone else to know about this, which is the beauty of a book that you can take and pass and pass and pass. But what I can't wait to try is reading this again at a different stage or a different
Yeah.
phase, because I imagine if I read this when I was 18
Right.
versus reading it when I'm 30 versus reading it whenever you change and then therefore your reaction to the book changes. And I think
Yeah.
this is a book that will never get old,
Right,
no
right.
matter
Yeah.
what age you are, because you're just coming at it
Yes.
in a slightly different way. And like you
So
said,
true.
even if you've read it and you know what happens at the end, you get that emotional reaction. Like you can literally feel it in your body with like, oh my gosh, what is going on?
Yes. Yeah.
So I feel like not only is this a book that will be loved and it will be discussed, but it will be reread,
Yeah.
reread, and reread. And
Great.
that's the sign of a beautiful book.
Yay. I hope so. I mean, I'm enjoying rereading it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you think about it going out into the world, it just launched not too long ago. What's your hope for the book or your hope for readers who get their hands on it and read it?
I hope that they tell their friends
Yeah.
about it. I mean, I think it's hard as a debut, and I don't have a huge Instagram or TikTok following. I mean, I have a moderate TikTok following, but that's because like was doing a lot of TikTok like 3 years ago. And then I kind of stopped. And then I got the book deal and I was like, oh, I should restart this. And then the algorithm like hates me now.
Yeah.
So it's not, it doesn't have the same push it once did. And so, yeah, like I'm still building my social media up across all platforms. So people don't know me. And I hope this story then, because I can't build the audience very well. And Simon and Schuster has been incredible with all of my publicity and setting me up with podcasts like you and getting me into articles and putting even like Goodreads ads up. Like that's amazing. But I think what's really going to build this is people reading it and starting to talk about it and like encouraging their friends to read it. And so I just hope it builds a lot of momentum. Yeah, like that's what I'm really hoping. I secretly wish for like the TV show someday. I think there are some really fun,
Oh,
like
yes.
technological advancements that I put in there that I would just love to see on the screen. I think that especially in this day where you can CGI a lot, like it would just be so cool to see how
Yeah.
some of these things are interpreted. So yeah, like I think that would be really fun someday. I'm just gonna keep talking about that until some
Yes.
film agent comes knocking on my door.
You're gonna
Uh,
manifest it. Yeah.
yeah,
But
why
you're
not?
right. Would be really easy to bring. Well, I don't know if it'd be easy, but
Yeah,
it would be really easy to envision this book on a screen like that
yeah,
to really just bring it to life. And I have no doubt, even if your social media following isn't where you want it to be, thanks to the algorithm, this book will spread from one reader to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. Right after I read this, I hosted a reading retreat over the summer. And it was all adults, and it didn't matter because I was just so in awe over this book. We passed it along all the adult readers,
so
and
great.
that I just feel like that is going to happen because oh, you just read that first part and you're like, I can't put it down. So
Yeah,
I'm excited for you. I
thank
will be
you.
right there manifesting all of that stuff with you. And I'm so glad you came here for the
Yeah,
launch. I loved it.
thank you. Yeah, no, I am so grateful to be here. It's always fun to talk about it with new people. I'm like, wait, who wants to talk my book? Let's go.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Now, I do want to ask before we go, though, this was your debut novel. Are you working on anything else? Anything you can give us sneak peeks into?
Sure. So I did get a two-book deal with Simon Schuster. So Much is a standalone. I should mention that. There is no like cliffhanger. It ends nicely, neatly, lots of bookends. It all wraps up,
Yeah,
and you're just going to be
feels
like
good.
so happy at the through all the stress and turmoil, it ends up with a happy ending. So much is standalone. I did get a two-book deal though, so I'm working on my second novel, currently slated for fall of 2026. I would not be surprised if it gets pushed to season. So we're in negotiations about that because, and when I tell you the premise, you'll probably understand why. I'm deep into developmental edits on it right now. It's called Predestined. And it's like a YA Minority Report meets Stephen King's Misery.
Ooh,
Um, so yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So in it there's like AI can reasonably predict the next 24 hours. So then they're trying to like stop crimes from happening, sort of the way Minority Report was, which was a blockbuster Tom Cruise movie like back in the early 2000s. So I have this like semi-omniscient AI character in the book, and that introduces a ton of plot twists. And so I'd written the manuscript, had sent it off, I'd figured it all out. And then now I have developmental edits and I have to go back because I can go ahead and tell you because it's not going to be in the final version, but there was a serial killer like all throughout, and we're
Wow.
taking out the serial killer.
Oh boy, that's
So
a big edit.
it's a big edit, and now I'm like rewriting and I'm changing some personalities and stuff. So
Wow.
literally like rewriting the whole thing. So it's all for the best. I told my editor, like, I want to be known as the fun author. Like, I want people to know when they sit down to read one of my books, they're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
This is not my full-time career. I'm doing it on the side. If I'm not enjoying it, then I don't want to do it.
Right.
So we're taking out the serial killer because he was kind of creating a lot of like darkness in the book. And we all like agreed, like, let's lift this and make it more fun.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously there's still, if we have the misery comp there, there's just still going to be a lot of like craziness that goes in there, but I still want it to be super fun. So I'm
Yeah.
working on that now, and that's due, well, anyway, it's due soon, and so we'll see where that lands as far as pub date goes, but I'm very excited. I have seen mock-ups of the cover, and the cover artist is the same as Tenderly I Am Devoured. Lyndall, I can't remember her last name. Anyway, if you go see it, like, so digital artist, freaking so talented. And so I think the cover is going to be gorgeous. I am so excited. And it's so, like, it just fits. And you know how gorgeous the Soul Match cover is
Oh,
too.
beautiful.
So I just feel so lucky that they've invested in cover art for me, because I do feel like just having a beautiful cover helps people like want to pick it up off the shelf and figure out what it's about, and then read the first two pages, like, okay, yeah, I'm in.
I'm
You know,
in.
that sort
Yeah.
of thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. Now, where is the best place for listeners to find you online so they can keep up with all the things that might be happening next with you?
Sure. So on Instagram, I actually have two usernames, which is confusing because I have my photography one and then I have my books one. My books everywhere, including on Instagram, is my full name, Rebecca Danzenbaker. And that's it. So I didn't want to make it longer than that. That's long enough as it is. So it's at Rebecca Danzenbaker on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Blue Sky. I'm trying to think if there's any other, Pinterest.
All the places.
Yes, and then on Facebook and YouTube, it's Rebecca Danzenbaker Books. So wherever you want to follow me is great. I pretty much am posting similar content everywhere except for on Threads because it's text-based. So I will post a little bit more there, because it's easier. I can just like
Yeah.
type and post it. Yeah, so that's where you can find me.
Well,
Oh,
I
and
will
I
make
mentioned
sure.
my website, rebeccadanzenbaker.com. Oh, sorry, no, wait. That's my photography one. So it's so confusing. RebeccaDanzenbakerBooks.com is my website.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will find them all and collect them
Okay.
all and put
Yeah.
them in the show notes to make it easy for listeners to find you. Certainly we'll put links to Soul Match in the show notes as well. And listeners, like really, you need to read this one. Like we said, read the first two pages. They won't put it down. It's a beautiful book. So I'm so glad you came on today to talk about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie. This was really fun.
Yeah. And listeners, thank you for listening to another episode of KidLit Love, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the KidLit Love podcast. You'll find links to all of the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at alitlife.com. You'll also find KidLit Love on Substack. That's where you'll find posts for each episode, monthly KidLit roundups, and an invitation to join my summer book club and go deeper into the world of children's literature. And if you loved this podcast and want more, you might like to listen to my other podcast called Get Literate. It's a podcast that explores all things books and reading, notebooks and writing to build a life you love. One more thing. If you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a friend. This helps the podcast grow and builds our bookish community of KidLit Love. Thanks for listening.